All right. Well, there you have it. We tune into our heart. We always like to do that in the beginning of every session. How is our heart so that we can be here in the present? But then also I added, do you feel home in your body? Because ultimately this energy that we are is moving through life in this energetic body. So do we feel home in our body? And each of us feel differently of what home is to us. So I'm super, super excited for today's episode, but really today's talk. And today is the very first time I'm bringing here in this space, in this energetic space that we're creating together, the first person that I'm ever interviewing on the topic of homecoming to self. As you all know, we started this channeling, this podcast to record and document my discovery of myself and sharing what that looks like, but also my homecoming to myself. But in the beginning of this year, we transitioned from a soul expression of love and fulfillment to exploring what is the source energy of love and fulfillment. So I'm excited to bring to you to talk, to have a conversation with my dear friend, CJ. I also wanted to say that she interviewed me on her show last year, and just this feeling of immediately we just connected. Like I suggested maybe we'll just get on FaceTime and on Messenger, and she's like, okay. And in that same day that we talked about it, we got a Messenger. And as we talking about the topic of homecoming, that we feel home in ourselves. But it's so beautiful to travel through life, to enjoy life, and find people like CJ where you feel home with her. So CJ, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me, Flo, and it's so good seeing you and connecting with you once again. From the moment that we met each other, it was like this spark of brightness came into my life. I'm so blessed to have you here with me once again.
Thank you, CJ. Thank you. I'm so glad that you're opening up this energetic space about having more to interview women about their homecoming to self. So it is an honor. I love that I can open this up, and then I'm opening it up with you. So I want to start. Let's go ahead and get started with it. I'm excited to hear your story and for our listeners to hear your story. So I wanted to ask you, what does homecoming to self mean to you?
So, homecoming to self to me means coming back to the center core being of who you are. So as we grow up and as we navigate our way through this entire world, we are told to be one thing and told to be another. Or even as we talked before we started recording, we said about communicating. We're taught to communicate one way. We're taught to communicate another way. Homecoming to self is learning at the core being what we are as individuals, who we are, what makes us tick, what we actually like, what we actually do not like, what we want, what makes us feel good, what makes us not feel good, discovering every tick that we have inside of ourselves and standing firmly in the truth that we are. And that's what homecoming to self is. It's no longer being bound by the chains of society or other people's beliefs in us or misbeliefs in us or what we were told we had to be. No, standing in this pure glory of who we are at our core beings.
Pure glory in who we are in our beings. I love the whole standing firm. That is powerful to me. That is so powerful to me. So could you bring us in and share more? What is your homecoming to self story?
So, I wrote my story, and it started when I was 5 years old. I was standing on a metal chair a rooster was taunting me, and this is a true story. A rooster was taunting me, and I was scared for my life. I thought this rooster is going to kill me. And I look back on that story because it was the very first time I ever doubted my gut. Because everyone around me was laughing, and they told me, why are you so scared that rooster can't hurt you? You're overreacting. So that was the theme in my entire life. I was overreacting, I was overreacting, I was overreacting. So I no longer believed in my gut. I always had to seek outside acceptance, outside clarification on everything I ever felt in my core being, because I thought that I was always overreacting. My entire life, I had to look to other people for guidance, and sure, I led things in my life. I was a leader in the military and things, but I always questioned my worth because my worth was always tied to somebody else. I was somebody's sister, somebody's mother, somebody's daughter, somebody's grand. I was never just me. My name is Christina on my birth certificate, but and then when I was in the military, I was Sergeant so and so. I was this, I was that. But it just didn't feel right. I didn't feel like I was me. I felt like I lived inside this suit where I had to be something for somebody all the time. And then I retired from the military, right? And that was 20 years. And I remember an exact moment. I thought I was doing okay. Thought I was doing real okay. And I was laying in my bed because I was having a hard time with the transition. I had only known this for 20 years. I thought that I ran away from home and from all the things that they were holding me back, but I only transferred it to my military life, and then I fit in their square grid. And now I thought, oh, I can finally just be me. Started all over in a new life, doing all of that. And then it all came crashing down on me, and I thought, is this it? And laid in my bed for a week. And I didn't want to die, but I didn't want to be there. I thought, if this is life, what is the freaking purpose? Like, this really sucks. Like, I am so tired of living in these chains that everybody puts on me. Like, I wanted to scream. I literally pictured myself getting in my truck with my dog, Roscoe, because he was my baby. You know, and I had an old beat up 1995 Chevy truck. Yes, I'm a country girl at heart. And I wanted to get in my truck and just drive. I had nowhere to go. And I didn't want to be away from my husband, but I didn't want to be there anymore. And then it just hit me after that week was over, laying in that bed, that, you know, I did a lot of prayer because I lean on my faith a lot. And I said, well, the choice is yours. You can keep living in those chains, or you can just say, no one's telling you you have to anymore. You're not bound by your family ties. If the military isn't making you, you can just literally get in your truck and go if you want. So it was like, I could do it. And I didn't want to. It wasn't the running away I needed to do. It was the giving myself permission to live the way I wanted to. And from that moment, I started doing it. And it was slowly and surely, but I started living for me. I started living the way I wanted to, and it was powerful. I started going by CJ instead of Christina Jewel. That's the name on my birth certificate. I changed. You know, I want to go by CJ because that's what I picked for myself, not something somebody else picked for me. I started wearing loud jewelry because I like loud jewelry, but I never wore it before because people would, you know, in the military you couldn't. And other people would ask me, who are you trying to impress? And now if somebody says it, I'm like, myself. I want to look, when I look in the mirror, I like the way it looks. That's who I'm trying to impress. How you like me now? You know, I mean, just little things like that, and not being afraid anymore. You know, when something starts to scare me, tell myself, what are you scared for? Why are you afraid? and then really digging deep into that fear and finding the core of that fear, finding where that string, what it's tied to, and everything along that string, just like, I told you this thing here is my chakra sword. Taking my chakra sword and basically demolishing everything along its path. And sometimes it's not demolishing, sometimes it's talking to it nicely and softly and healing it, but just getting rid of it and saying, not today. Today I will shine. Even if I fail, I will shine in my failure, and I will stand firm in it.
My gosh, I'm glad you're the first one I'm interviewing because now I know, I'm like, I gotta be prepared and have some tissue, and I don't. And it's just like, I know you're telling your story, but this is what's the beauty of the one self, is that we are reflecting each other. Your story was like pulling on my heart, and I'm like, yes, I know exactly what you're saying about the whole name too. Oh my
Yeah.
gosh. Ah.
Yeah, because we talked about your story there when you came on our show for a little while, and powerful to allow yourself to be free, isn't it?
Yes. Oh my gosh, CJ, I love you. I love your story and the way you told it. You're telling it from a place of like not diminishing the experience, because I can that's why I feel like I'm tearing up, is I can feel what that is, getting in the car and all that stuff. But at the same time, you're telling it from who you are today, seeing the perspective of truly the higher perspective of you are firm, you are strong. You are as a strong woman and bold, and yeah, I love the whole I'm doing it for me. That's like continue. That is definitely a homecoming story. So I wanted to ask, like, what are you discovering about yourself today or recently about yourself?
Yeah. I'm discovering that I'm okay being me, where most of my life I tried to hide parts of me. I I also am discovering that I'm more of an introvert than I thought I was. Um, and that I'm also discovering that it's okay to not allow everybody into your life, to be selective, because you have to protect your peace. And it's not being that you're stuck up, and it's not being that you think you're better than anybody. It's that some people aren't ready or in a place to heal, and you have to let them know that you are there for them when they are, but you will not accept their behavior, and you have to stand firm in that. I have a very soft heart, and I think that I can heal everybody, so I accept everybody. So I'm learning about myself that I have to set boundaries, and I need to learn that sometimes it won't help them if I break down with them and go to those places that I didn't allow myself to stay in, so to speak. But I'm also learning how much I absolutely love the silence. I never loved before because of my ADD and my depression and anxiety that I've had. I never loved the silence, never, because my mind would go in some very dark places that it took me a while to pull myself out of. But now that I have learned a lot about myself, and I've sat with that inner self many, many times and consoled her and cried with her and told her that it's okay, the things that have happened in my past, and that we will get through it together. The silence no longer scares me. And sometimes I seek the silence so that I can figure out my way forward. And sometimes I seek the silence to ask her guidance as well, because we're a team. I'm no longer fighting with her. We're getting through this together. So that's probably the biggest thing I learned about myself. And I attest that to my husband, who I thought was absolutely insane when I first met him, because he would sit I would come into the room and he would just be sitting there in pure silence in a chair, and I'm like, you're a weirdo. Like turn on a TV or something. And I never realized how much silence can actually heal you when you just listen.
I have a lot of energy moving. Oh my God. I'm like, she's speaking stuff that, this is what I love about this collaboration of energy of conversation, however way it resonates with you. But like somebody's talking and I'm like, what she's saying is for me. I'm like, I would say exactly just how she said it. Oh my gosh. I love that you said, I love silence. Like you're claiming these things that you're discovering and not putting a negative judgment, but it's like, I love this. I can so relate to that. My gosh. So as far as discovery of self, how can you speak on your authentic path? I mean, from any place of speaking into it, but I guess my heart is like to inspire everyone to be like, discover yourself, take your authentic path. Can you speak on that?
So, from a person who lived in this suit of another individual for so long, excuse me, I wish there was cameras that could have recorded me my entire life and I could show that person. I know there's some video out there somewhere, and then show me now and show the extreme difference of a person that I am, and show how the hurt behind the eyes of that other person, anger, the turmoil inside the heart that I had, and let them just see that and go, this is why you should live your own truth and live your path and not live in a suit of another person. This is why you should discover yourself, because everything you think you know right now while you are living in the suit of another person isn't real. And you don't even know that it isn't real because you haven't taken the time to sit in the silence and discover it. And for that, I will always pray for you. But until that moment that you discover yourself, that light bulb will never be bright enough for you.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I never knew. Like, I look back and I thought that, yeah, I was a bad-mouthed, quick talker, quick walker, rough person, and man, I so was not. Like, I wrote it on my Facebook, I'm a peace-loving hippie that loves inclusion. And I never knew that about myself until I started just closing my eyes and swaying to the sound of the wind, and I love that more than anything in life, other than my Lord up above, who, I put my faith into. And I just wish everybody, and I'm not saying that they have to believe in one religion or the other. I'm not a religious person. I'm a spiritual person. And the reason I say that is because I've studied, not extensively, I've studied many different forms of religion. And my beliefs are in so many of those different forms. So I don't say that I'm this or I'm that. I'm a spiritual person who believes in so many different things that are amazing. But yeah, I'm just rambling, sorry.
This is for this space we are holding for you, but I'm like, I can't. I'm like, I'm gonna be ready for the next one, because everything you're saying, I'm like, I can so relate. I love that you're opening this homecoming to self for us. Like, you are the first speaker. You are truly a powerful voice, and a very firm one. It's a bright light, even for me. I'm like, oh my gosh, like, I'm so happy with my journey that I am exploring. So Let's see here. I do wanted to ask about this and see what you think of it. But before I do that, what would be your daily homecoming to self practices?
So each morning, each morning I sit and I have a cup of coffee and I watch the nightly news from the day before just to get caught up with what's happening in the world. So if anyone asks me about something, I have just a snippet of what was going on in 20 minutes, then I leave it at that. I have my daily devotions that I read from my Bible app on my phone, and then I say my prayers. And then I sit for about 10 to 15 minutes here in the silence and just take deep breaths in and kind of feel in my heart and my mind if there's anything in particular that's bothering me or swaying me one way or the other that could affect any of my judgments, any of my actions for the day. And try to be very cognizant of those. And the reason I do that is because if you're feeling in one particular way, you can make a judgment on something in your life one particular way. So I try to be very self-aware of my feelings and my actions. Now, unfortunately, because of my anxiety and my depression, I don't always catch them, but I try. Just like whenever I'm upset about something or I'm feeling sad, I'll even come when my husband comes up to me for the day after he's woken up. So I'm up at 4 a.m. He's like, early. um, he'll come to say good morning, and then I'll say, hey, I just want to make sure that you're aware I'm feeling upset today. There's nothing that is upsetting me, but just in case I get upset about something you say, know ahead of time that you haven't done anything wrong. I can tell that my mood is just some kind of way, and I'm working really hard not to let it affect others around me. But if it does affect you, you're aware ahead of time that it's something chemically that's going on in my brain that I can't. So there's a rational side of me, and then there's the emotional side. And I've worked really hard on the rational side. So I sit in the morning for those 10 or 15 minutes to try to feel myself out, to understand where the day is going to go. Because I work with other people, I talk to a lot of people, and I try to give them a space, that is non-judgmental and open. And I want to be able to not make brash decisions based off of emotions that could be erroneous.
I love that you shared your daily homecoming practice starting in the morning. I mean, we're all different. We really are all different, but I can relate to it. So it definitely resonates with me how you're setting the temperature of how the day would go, that you are still experiencing your humanity, and your communication with everyone around you, you're just kind of letting them know, to just be aware. The awareness piece of it, I think, is so important. But how I love the practice of early in the morning. Once again, everything that you shared today, I'm like, yeah, I can so relate. And I'm sure I'm not the only one. There's, others out there. But if anyone that doesn't, maybe they're not a morning person or it doesn't resonate, could you give us some suggestion as far as like coming home to self, some practices, you think?
Yeah, so I go into my room at 7 o'clock at night, and I know that's pretty early for a lot of people, but I go into my room and I sit in my room and I sit there on my bed and I just take those moments to do the same things, to reevaluate the day and reevaluate my mood and everything that has transpired, how I'm feeling, and I do the same thing in the evening. So I don't drink coffee, not normally. Sometimes I do. I crave coffee all the time. But I try to do the same routine, just not the news. And I'll read a book, or sometimes I just sit there with myself and reevaluate how I'm feeling, and if anything has bothered me, why did it bother me? Is it an insecurity that I'm having? Why am I having that insecurity? What has bothered me? You know, like I said, I go along that string to try to find the root cause. And if it's something, you know, needs to be demolished, I take my chakra sword and I demolish it. That's, you know, a pretty standard practice for me. And I suffer from social anxiety. So there's times where, like, the interaction, it just gets so much with me that I just need to back away from everybody and not talk to anybody that day. So I've got friends that talk, you know, we talk on a regular basis, and I'll just message them and say, hey, today I can't talk today. I need to decompress from everybody. And if you force me to talk today because you continue messaging me when I told you that I need to decompress, I may say something that could be offensive or rude, even though I'm not trying to. It's just I'm overwhelmed. My brain, I'm overstimulated, and my brain doesn't function very well. So be respectful of that, and I'll be respectful.
What I'm learning for myself is the importance really of communicating, and how you are inviting people by expressing to them what your soul wanted to express in that moment. Like, I think that's so important. I'm sure those connect. That's why I feel home with you. It's like you're sharing all this stuff, but it's like your general core energy that you carry is the same when I met you the first time a year ago, and the same today. So truly, you are firm. I love that. I love how firm you are, and I can see now why. It's because this practice of in the morning and the nighttime, like, it's so important. Anybody can really benefit from that. So as we close, we definitely want to hear how to get in touch with you. I'm sure there are people there. I'm like, oh my goodness, I want to know more about her. But before you share with us, like, how to connect with you, what you're doing, endeavors, things like that, any events, can you talk about oneself? Like, what does that mean to you when you hear the word oneself?
Yeah, and that one got me. I usually have quick answers. So I'm not that quick with it. So oneself to me is, gosh, I thought I had this one. Middle-aged woman brain just happened to me. Okay, so oneself is being one with yourself, right? It's reconciling every part about you and being okay with it. You know, like, I'm very open about mental health, and I used to not be. I used to have to hide parts of me. I wasn't one with myself. I wasn't okay with my mental illnesses, because I was embarrassed that people would look down on me and not respect me because of that, you know, and I started going, well, if they don't, then that's their problem, not mine. And I think by opening up about not only my mental sometimes mental illness, my mental illnesses, my physical ailments, also just me and who I am and how I feel and how I love and how I care and everything, I think it allows people into my world, and if they want to be a part of it, it allows them to decide for themselves. So I always tell people, if you don't tell somebody something about yourself or share, then they can't make an informed decision if they want to be a part of your life. So you're basically taking their decision-making factors away from them. And I understand there may be things that people aren't comfortable sharing, but by sharing everything, you bring freedom to yourself, you know. And for me, a lot of people say, well, you share too much. Well, you know, I'm an open book. I am not any longer embarrassed about who I am as a human being. You know, I'm not embarrassed the fact that I went from 150 pounds up to 268 in 1 year. You know, I'm working on that. I have those problems. I am very open to people about the fact that, you know, when I have a migraine, I can't control my emotions and I can lash out at people because I can't control the chemicals that are happening in my brain during the migraine. But I tell people I have a migraine, please let me have my moments. So I think being oneself is accepting every part of you, in your brain, in your physical form, in your emotional form, every form in this universe and in the spiritual realm that exists, accepting it.
Oh my goodness. Well, once again, I'm so grateful that you prepared me for how these interaction could be, that I'll be ready, that I have a lot of energy moving. So now please tell us, our listeners, how can we know more about you? How can we get in contact with you?
Yeah, so the easiest way is the Authors Porch, because that's where I'm hanging out all the time. The Authors Porch, www.theauthorsporch.com is my website. And not only is it my author website, but because what's most important to me is lifting other people up and giving them a platform to show the light that they have in this world. So I created the Authors Porch back in November, and we're lifting up authors and sharing their wonderful pieces of work. So you can email me over there if you want my personal author page, just author CJ Ives Lopez. And it's really that simple. Just head on over and check out these amazing authors that I talk to every single week. They're sharing their books, they're sharing their journey of self-discovery of themselves as well, of how they learned to be an author, how they became an author. And that's really the focus that I'm leaning on, is getting their wonderful works of art out there, because the things that live in our brains are a piece of us.
All right. Well, I will add all of the information about CJ, how we can stay connected with her, how we can follow her, collaborate with her. I will add it on the description. And that is it for today. I know you all have enjoyed it. I certainly have. I have to fix my makeup now because I have some funny. I was trying to hold it in, and I do have to express that when we get off. So, but CJ, thank you. I enjoyed you so much. You're so beautiful. Thank you for sharing your story with us, being an open book, and inviting us into your life energetically. So, all right, everyone, I am Florence Leonardo. Continue on the path of the discovery of self. You are the treasure